Welcome to the November 2024 Sharp Information Session, where we invite speakers to offer information sessions on resources, services, and tools available to help English-speaking seniors age in the right place. Thank you to all of the Quebec English-speaking community organizations and Sharp coordinators and older adults who are with us today, whose efforts have resulted in this beautiful turnout. If you have any questions about the presentation or the resources provided, please contact the organization and Sharp coordinator that invited you. My name is Erica Botner. I'm the program manager for seniors and the Sharp program at CHSSN. I'll be your facilitator for today's session. Today we have Jennifer Hobbs Robert, Senior Advisor for Community Health Promotion Programs at Jeffrey Hill Community Partners, and one of our favorite speakers. She will be sharing valuable insights and strategies to help you maintain independence and comfort in your own home as you age, and how to empower yourself and others to make informed decisions about aging gracefully. Throughout Jennifer's career, she has held a variety of positions in geriatrics, community health, nursing, health education, emergency care, occupational health, as well as with the Canadian Heart and Stroke Foundation as a CPR master instructor. She holds a Bachelor in Community Nursing from Concordia University, an Applied Masters of Science in Epidemiology and Biostatistics, and a Postmaster's Diploma in Nursing Education. She's the Senior Advisor for Community Health Promotion Programs at Jeffrey Hill Community Partners, a Surveyor for Accreditation Canada, nationally and internationally, and on the board at CHSSN. So welcome. We love having you with us, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to share today.
Thanks so much, Eric. It's always exciting to hear your background, and as you get older, you say, oh my gosh, it's been a wonderful career and continues to be. But thank you for this lovely opportunity for presenting this very interesting document. And before I get started, the document, it was originally published quite a number of years ago. It was revised, and the full title is Thinking About Your Future Now to Age in Place. It was revised, and Quebec had some say in it, but they were not part of the national consortium, if you will, and I'll explain that in a minute. The document used to prepare this presentation was really prepared by a large forum of federal, provincial, territorial ministers responsible for seniors across Canada. It's an intergovernmental body established essentially to share information, to discuss new and emerging issues related to seniors' health, and they work together on key projects. And you've got the website on this slide if ever you'd like to download it and print it and use the checklist that I'm going to be referring to throughout the presentation. And it's very user-friendly. It's great. Next slide, please. At the end of the presentation, I'm really hopeful that you will be able to understand the concept of what aging in place means, because we're hearing that more and more and more. And government monies, government budgets are really being allocated to keep us in our homes as long as possible, whatever home means to you. The second learning objective is really to be able to identify key strategies. How do you get to be able to age in place wherever you do live and wherever you want to live? And three, the importance of planning. It's something to leave things to the last minute. And this is not one of those things that you want to really leave to the last minute. Planning where you want to live as you get older. Next slide, please. So we want to give the acknowledgements as to who helped us to finance this beautiful document. Well, actually the project itself and the Government of Canada, and of course, in collaboration with CHSSN. Now, before I get into the statistic, I do want to mention something that I found interesting in the slide that mentioned who developed this document. It was a consortium, a forum of government leaders. And I just want to give a little blurb on the Quebec province, because it was interesting to know that Quebec province contributes to the Seniors Forum by sharing expertise, information, and best practices. However, It does not subscribe to or take part in an integrated Canada-wide approach to seniors. The government of Quebec intends to fully assume its responsibilities for seniors in Quebec, and I believe that that is still current. This document was revived in 2011, and it is still the case. So that's very interesting for all of us to know. So the research is available, but Quebec chooses to take care of their seniors in their own way. So just a few statistics. Most Canadian seniors want to remain in their own homes for as long as possible. Absolutely. And I think that we all agree on that one, whatever home means to you. It doesn't necessarily mean a single dwelling. It can be an apartment. It can be a granny flat living close to your family. There's all sorts of variations on the theme, but we want to be able to control as much as we can in our life. It is a known fact now that Canadians are living longer and are increasingly reaching the age of 100 years old. And this is something interesting. Between 2006 and 2011, the number of Canadian centenarians increased by almost 26%. That's amazing. It's the second highest increase of all age groups after the age of 60 to 64. Which increased, by the way, by 29%. But we all know that the population is aging quite rapidly. And the average lifespan for Canadians age 65 and above is 87 for men and 89 for women. And that is reference coming from the Chief Actuary Office. And considering that this document was published in 2011, I went back online to make sure that this is still current and that this is still valid, and it absolutely is. Let's go through the definition. What is aging in place? What does it mean? Well, it basically means aging in place, living in one's own home safely, independently, and comfortably. It means having access to services and the health and social services supports you need to be able to live safely and independently. And thinking and talking about the future and being prepared will help you to make the most of your later years and have more control over your decision. And that's what we all want. We want to be able to decide what we want, when we want, and how we want it. And as we're going to see with the following slides, making a plan will give you the best chance to have a satisfying and positive experience as we get older, and it helps us to age in place. And so now we're talking about the key strategies. They're going to help us to learn what is the best way to age in place. And basically, if you look at the 9 different areas, the first one is my health, my home, figuring out transportation as I get older, working on my finances, ensuring that my home is a safety spot for me, making sure that I'm going to have supports and services, and you're going to see what that means in a few minutes. You want to make sure you're living in a community that's going to support you as you age. And also, how are my partner and myself going to age together if we're so lucky? So the Thinking About Your Future booklet, which is about 20 pages, by the way, it talks about the 3 steps you can take to help you plan for aging in place. Essentially, it works on checklists. You do the checklists, then you evaluate the contents, and you prepare a plan. So those are the 3 essential steps. It really contains easy to follow checklists that'll help you assess how prepared are you to age in place. We may think that we are, but sometimes we're surprised. And it does this by following these 9 different steps and 9 different areas of our life. So the first one, it's a biggie. It has the most checklists possible. And everything that you see on the slide, just add a check box in front of it instead of a bullet. And that's exactly what it looks like in the document. So you what you do in this case is you look to see what is your state of health now. So, are you physically active? Yes, no. Do you do a variety of physical activities that you enjoy? And it seems, according to research, that we can't underestimate moving about and not sitting long during our daytime. The second one, this is a toughie. Are we eating 7 servings of fruits and vegetables? It's a combination of both, not 7 fruit and 7 vegetables, but 7 fruits and vegetables a day. And learning about what constitutes a serving is really kind of a neat way, and you can get all this information online now. Is it a whole orange? Do I just have to, like have a half a glass of apple juice? Is that a serving? It absolutely is. Do I have a healthy body weight? Do I regularly schedule my appointments for the following? My physical exam by the doctor, my visual exam for my eyes to really rule out glaucoma, macular degeneration, and cataracts. Those are the 3 biggies that you go in for your optometry appointment for. Do I get regular scheduled dental appointments? Because we know that oral health has a great predisposition. Poor oral health, all of the bad bacteria in your mouth is quite contributing towards pneumonias, all sorts of things. So dental appointments regularly, very important. And something that maybe a lot of people don't do is hearing checkups. The less we hear, the more isolated we become. The more isolated we become, sets in depression, sets in withdrawal from your family because you get tired of asking to repeat. So good hearing is essential for cognitive health. Do you smoke? If you do, is there any plan that you could possibly quit in the future? Because that has been shown to really contribute towards healthy aging if you do quit. Do you drink alcohol? If you do you stay and do we stay below the limits suggested for adults of your age? Next, am I in good mental health? Would I be able to pick up on the signs that I'm depressed or that I have overriding anxiety? Do I keep my mind active through a bunch of different interests and hobbies? Anything just to keep my mind active. How strong are my bones? Have I had an osteodensometry or a bone density test in the last couple of years? Because strong bones equals fall prevention, equals less fractures, equals getting you to stay at home. Do you, and will you talk with your doctor about your pre-existing medical conditions? Many of us don't have a doctor that knows us or that follows us regularly. And so getting them to really listen to your pre-existing medical conditions or having them at least read your file while you're in the office is a great help so that they can know how to support you. And lastly, and I think this is really gaining a lot of momentum in research and showing that living at home can be made easier. Are you aware of all the electronic gizmos and the tools and all the wonderful stuff that research is showing us now that we can use to help us, remind us to turn off the stove, remind us to take our medications, it helps us to follow our oxygen saturation. We can get blood pressure machines on our iWatch. We can take our ECGs on our iWatch. We can use our tablets to communicate in rural areas with our doctors and nutritionists and exercise classes. So becoming a little bit electronically savvy, or computer savvy, can really be a huge help to staying well at home in your own home. Okay, the next one is, have I evaluated the space that I live in? And when I say my home, that doesn't mean, like I mentioned before, a bungalow, 2-floor cottage, whatever. It could be whatever you live in that you consider to be home. So 1, is my home in a location close to services, friends, and family? I'm going to address at the end of this this chat the challenges that most of you face in rural areas. And this document, I think, was not necessarily developed for the urban population, but there is a leaning towards it. There is a slant towards it for sure. And I need to remember that a great number of you are living in rural areas, not close to friends, not close to family, thus computers becoming more and more important. So do you have your home that is close to services? The second one, am I able to manage where I'm living now moving forward? And we usually say 5 to 10 years. And I looked at the predominance of the group. Most of you are between 65 and 75, which brings you to over 85, between 80 and 85. So will I still be able to afford the mortgage if I still have one, my rent, condo fees, the taxes, the repairs, the maintenance? Can I afford with what I have to pay for services, knowing the government subsidies for those that you have low income, a little bit lower income, you do get a tax credit, and those are easily available for over 70. But just something as simple as changing your bed becomes a real challenge. So can I get and can I afford to pay someone for house cleaning? If I find myself living alone in the future, will I be able to manage it? How much does my partner do for me right now? Bills, menage, cooking, groceries, bringing me places. Will I be able to do that on my own? God forbid you should find yourself in that situation. Do I recognize safety risks in my home? Example, hanging wires, carpets, shag carpets, bathroom carpets, things that you can trip over so easily. And do I know those safety risks? And there are a lot of little checklists on the line that you can easily evaluate the safety of your home. You can find those easily. Can I make adaptations to my current living space? Am I allowed, or am I in a rental where I can't do anything really? Will the features in my home, what that means is bathrooms, bathtub, toilets, support my mobility and health needs over the next few years? Can you get through with a walker? If ever, God forbid, you're in a wheelchair, can you get through your door? Is there an elevator? Do you have handicap accessible rails? Those types of things. Are your lights in your home bright enough so that you can see well? Do you have a night light on when you get up to go to the washroom in the nighttime? If my health changes and I need a wheelchair or other mobility devices, am I psychologically prepared for this? A lot of people have a difficult time adapting to adaptive devices, whether it be hearing aids, whether it be a cane. So am I able to work with myself and get some support so that I can adapt easily to the growing changes of my aging? Am I aware of available options in my community? So important. Sometimes there's a wealth of community organizations that can offer help like driving to your appointments, bringing you to a grocery, etc. And have I thought about reducing what I have in my home? Have I thought of starting to purge so you're not leaving it for your family or your friends? Have I thought of moving to something smaller so I can manage it a little bit easier? Transportation. Now, this is a tough one because, again, I'm trying to keep my brain in both the rural and the urban setting. So let's go through. So interestingly enough, most older adults will live 7 to 10 years past their ability to drive safely. So let's think, if we lost our driver's license, how would we manage? And it doesn't always have to be dismal and gray. There's a lot of alternative options there. The cost of running your own car costs a lot of money. Sometimes if you can get a taxi or Uber or things like that, if they exist in your area, you'd be surprised at how much less it costs than registering and keeping up your car. But I digress. So 1, I plan to take a refresher course to maintain my driver's license because I have to remember the rules and regulations. Are you ready for that? I do talk to my doctor and my pharmacist about how my health conditions and medications used to manage them can impact my ability to drive safely. Pharmacists are usually very good, though. When you start on new medication, they will give you the patient sheet, information sheet, and usually it's clearly stated that if it's going to affect your safety in terms of driving. Are you aware and have access to alternate means of transportation if ever you needed to? Are you able to walk a little bit to go to places that you need to go to? Is there a bus in your area? Can you get access to taxis? Is there volunteer driving programs in your community area? And is there options for carpooling in your area? These are all things that the wellness centers can examine, take a look, initiate, start, take polls, and see what is the actual situation in your region. It's just food for thought to get you thinking. And as I mentioned before, have you actually done the analysis of what it costs to run and maintain your own car or vehicle versus the cost of other means of transport? I plan to take up or increase walking or cycling as a healthy and active form of transportation, bearing in mind that the majority of the group is over 70. So some people are very, very avid cyclists into their 70s for sure. So especially with electronic bikes and, battery operated bikes, it's great if you can. Are you aware of what exists in your community that can be delivered to you beyond your pharmacy? Groceries, Amazon, you're all aware of those, I'm sure, just to make your life a little bit easier, especially in the rural areas. And if you have given some serious thought to transportation needs, would you be willing to relocate, move into something closer so that you can be close to a library, close to a grocery store, close to friends? So that's the transportation checklist that you have to go through. My money, my finances. You ask yourself, am I able to live comfortably within my current income? Do you have money set aside for unexpected expenses? I have someone in my life or that I know that I can consult for financial advice when I need it. I have thought of the kinds of supports and services I may need one day as I get older. Someone to help me with shopping, yard maintenance, someone to help me give me my bath, all of those types of things. Have you given that thought? And do you have the money to support that? I know how much things cost to be able to sustain the lifestyle I want in the future. Sometimes you just have to kind of sit down and not necessarily do a budget, but just take a moment to reflect on how things cost. We all know when we go to a coffee shop, 1 week a coffee is $3.75, and then you go in 2 weeks later and whoops, what the heck happened? It's $5.75. And especially, the big ones there, the Starbucks chains and etc. So the things cost, the cost of living goes up a heck of a lot faster than our pensions do. So will you have enough money? My retirement income is based on more than one source. Do you have that luxury of having many sources of income as you're getting older? If ever I had to move to assisted living, would I be able to afford it? I've made a plan of who will be responsible for my financial affairs if and ever I'm not able to do them myself. That's called power of attorney, a banking mandate, those sorts of things. You can find tons of information online. M.ScA is a wonderful source of information for all those things legal and free. I have a will. I'll repeat that. I have a will. And that's so important to help our families after we're gone make sense of our things that we've got. My connections, more and more importance is being put, and this is based on research findings, on the importance of having connections. Staying alone breeds depression and does not bear well for cognitive health. So let's see what they want us to take a look at in this checklist. Do I have good relationships with my family members? I've got family and friends that I can rely on for support if ever I need it. I easily have someone I can talk to when I need to do it. I have good friends that I enjoy spending time with, and I nurture the friendships I have. Are we still doing that? I've got a variety of friends who are different ages, some of those who are younger than I am, just to keep me abreast of what's going on in the world and how trends are changing and what young people do, want, and think like. I enjoy connecting with people through my work. That is if the few of you that are online between 50 and 65, if you're still working. I've developed social networks outside of my family. I think long and hard about how I'd like to stay connected with my community. I'm considering, or I already do, volunteering as a way to contribute to my community and also provide myself social contact, which is crucial to healthy aging. I've explored different ways of connecting with friends and family, such as FaceTime, WhatsApp, social media, or going to your wellness centers that exist in over 120 areas in the province, thanks to the development of these wonderful, wonderful centers. Number 6 out of 9 is my safety. Let's look at how safe we are, where we are. I feel safe in my home and in my neighborhood. I'm pretty savvy on how to protect myself from fraud, abuse, and neglect. That includes emotional, physical, financial neglect, but especially from the scammers that are becoming so good these days. So we really do have to stay abreast of the latest in all of that sort of thing. I understand that falling is a great risk and that I know what to do to decrease this risk. We've talked about that for your home and safety, but also nutritionally, knowing your medications that cause dizziness, knowing your blood pressure so that you'll get up too fast and fall. So falling is a real risk for sometimes changing the quality of life in your own home. I keep my home pretty uncluttered, and I remove all my scatter rugs and other tripping hazards. If I have a driveway, I keep it clear of snow and ice in the winter. I had a fall recently, but I took care of it, and now I've decreased my risk of having another one. And I've really considered using a home monitoring system, personal emergency response system. Those are those fancy little buttons or necklaces, or even a fall detection system through an iWatch. It can pick up a fall, and you just have to press a button saying, yes, I've fallen and I need help. So all of these electronic devices can be very helpful in staying home longer. The next one is really becoming more and more important as I do reading, honestly. As Canadians age, the care and support from family and friends become increasingly important to the well-being of seniors. And this was a pretty startling statistic. In 2012, about 8.1 million individuals, or 28% of Canadians aged 15 years old and older, provided care to a family member or a friend with long-term health conditions, disability, or aging challenges. And I think you will all agree with that. Many of you on the screen are caregivers, I'm pretty darn sure. That means that nearly 3 in 10 people are family caregivers. And family is a broad word. Family can mean friends, the family in the actual sense of the word, but it can be quite large. So what do they want us to look at in terms of supports and services beyond the statistics that I just mentioned? Well, I've thought about what services and supports I may need to remain in my home in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm also aware of where to go to find that information if I have questions about my care needs or community services. Now, folks, sometimes if you try to find information on the web, it's really confusing and it's overwhelming, and you just kind of put your hands up and say, oh, I give up. However, most of you in this group are part of the Wellness Center. And remember, the Wellness Center have reference, they've got referral capabilities, they have a wealth of knowledge that you can ask them about. And if they don't know the answer, they're going to find it for you. So it's almost like it's their guide. They are your guide by the side for your community. And they exist for that reason. So please use them. They're amazing groups. Have you talked to your family and friends about help that you may need in the future so that they can be of assistance to you and plan accordingly? Again, here is the device thing. I've thought about using devices such as video monitoring system, medication reminders, personal response services to help me care for myself or a loved one. As a caregiver, I am aware of what resources and respite services are available. Here again, the government offers tremendous support to people who are caregivers. And if you can't get through the websites and the government internet stuff, ask your wellness center or your local CLSC. They will guide you, and they have all of the documents available for you. If you are a true caregiver, you have to have a plan to take care of yourself so that there are not two people who get sick. You do need to take care of yourself to be able to help someone. My community. Well, basically, what they're asking us to think about where you live now. How close are you to a grocery store, a drugstore, a coffee shop, just to be able to sit and see people, even if it's not a wellness center. If you go to your local Tim Hortons and just sit and see life, it is so important. Do you have a library close by, or even a restaurant that you can go to socialize, or at least to see different people? So important. How much further do you have to travel to reach medical offices, a dentist, or a hospital? And is the distance stopping you from getting your regular checkups? And if that is the case, you need to act. You need to go to your CLSC or talk to the Wellness Center to see if there are some sort of transport opportunities available for you. How far do you have to go to travel with your family to meet with family and friends? FaceTime is wonderful, but there is nothing like holding somebody's hand or just having a coffee together and sharing a biscuit and just chatting and laughing, or even something stronger if you like. Yeah. And then what features are important to have in your community when you're older? And will your current community meet your future needs? I have a few friends who have recently moved to be closer to a busy street or a busier street where there is a library and where there is a coffee shop. And that was their objective. They said, I want to see life. I want to see kids going into the library. I want to see kids in a coffee shop. I want to hear noise. I want to see liveliness. And so it's something for you to think about. And that's what this checklist is all about. Just to take a step back and think and analyze. And the checklists are so easy to use. You just go through and you'll see how many no's you have. And if you've got no's that are more than yeses, then you have to do some serious thinking about how you're actually going to be able to age in place in your home, whatever that may be. The last category is number 9, and it's my partner and me. If you are living with someone, or if you are close to someone that you see on a regular basis, daily. So my partner and I have discussed our plans for old age and aging and what we want to be able to do financially. We've talked about options that we want to explore to work maybe part-time, or maybe even volunteer, just to keep you with a sense of focus and purpose. What are we going to do with all of our time as our commitments diminish? What are we able to do together? What activities do we want to do together? And what do we want to do separately? How does aging, getting older, and our changing needs going to affect our relationship? Sometimes it puts a strain when one gets sick and the other one has to caregive, so it may cause strain there. How is that going to work for you? Where do you want to live? And are you and your partner able to nurture and to get through some heavier problems? What has been your history of problem solving in the past, and how is that going to work moving forward? Aging in place means whatever home means to you. It does not mean an assisted living. No, it does not mean necessarily in a community setting. It can mean living in a little granny flat beside your kids. It can mean living in an apartment that you love, but that happens to have an elevator and that meets your needs. So it doesn't have to be a community setting. It does not have to be an assisted living. It is whatever is home for you. That's where you want to age in, well, all the better. So essentially, I always like to throw in the references. If ever you'd like to look to see where I took this research from to supplement the document itself, you have the 3 references there. If Megan could, if it's not too much trouble, I'd just like her to open up the document, the research document. It's in Word that I sent, just so that you see the front page of it. So you've got 13 pages of research with all of the, the citations of where the research was taken, but more importantly, the abstracts and why it is important and how it helps in aging. So you're going to see, like what volunteering does and what having spirituality and faith does, and the importance of leisure and activity, the importance of being connected with your friends or family or whatever. And so please do go through this document. I'm wondering if the wellness centers, maybe if you're lucky enough to have one, or just download it yourself and have a read. It's easy reading. And I did use a combination of documents and artificial intelligence, with 2023 being my research deadline for the research. So you have up-to-date stuff there. And just going back to Tai Chi and chair yoga, if you don't have access to this in your rural areas, don't worry. If ever the wellness centers can use this as their exercise program. But Tai Chi and chair yoga are being shown to be the best forms of exercise to prevent falls and to increase balance, even for those of you who are very chair bound. It is really over 12 weeks if you do it consistently. It's really shown, and you've got your statistics right in the document. It's really being shown to be extremely helpful. So I just wanted to be able to share that as an additional document. And I think we've got about 6 or 7 minutes. If Erica is okay with some questions and answers, if anybody has questions.
The first thing I wanted to address is that so many people are saying they've never heard of a wellness center. And really, it's your wellness center that would have invited you to this event. So whatever organization invited you to come and listen to this is probably your local wellness center.
You know what else too? And again, living in a bilingual province makes it challenging sometimes if you're unilingual anglophone. But what I'm finding and I'm learning as I go through some of the research for these things is that community organizations are amazing. And I'd like to be more clear about that. When I do accreditation visits, what they do is they send me out across Canada and they ask me to evaluate and kind of inspect, if you will, CLSCs or hospitals or nursing homes. And one of the things that I have to do is to go in and see how the community organizations support the population. So I'm learning more and more about these wonderful and amazing community organizations that you need to research, guys, because they offer so many wonderful things. Some of them even offer like turkey dinners at Christmas time when you're alone. You should look up the listing of your community organizations in your area, because they're all subsidized either through Centraid, either through Kiwanis, either through many different groups. They've got very often good funding to help you with exactly this. Break the isolation, help you cope with living alone and not necessarily having a full-time partner. And community organizations, the YWCA, the YMCA, the women's drop-in group, women's whatever, and or men's whatnot, but newcomers, drop-ins for seniors. There are a wealth of them, especially when you live in urban settings, but also in the rural. And as Erica said, I think your starting point is your wellness center, because I had an opportunity to meet a lot of the different coordinators recently, and they are so engaged, they're so passionate. You see their brains are on fire trying to figure out how to serve their population that they're serving, which is you guys right on the screen. And so connect with them. And I know that Megan and Erica are available. If you cannot find your particular wellness center, just reach out to them and they'll be happy to help you. But I think it's a good starting point.
Someone was asking about whether there are services that can come into the home to do assessments and make recommendations for home modifications to meet safety needs and safety.
Absolutely. And you want to save your hard-earned dollars. So that is the obligation of what we call the assessment team or the intake team in your CLSC. So very often you get access to someone that comes in to do a safety checklist when you require services. Once you call the CLSC, they will give you an intake person. An intake person will say, yes, how can I help you? And what are your needs today? Well, you know, my bathroom, I'm really nervous of slipping. I'm 75 years old, and I would really like to put in bath rails, but my landlord says it has to be done. I can't do it myself. And they say, we have to get it done professionally. No problem. There may be a bit of a waiting list, but you will have someone come in, probably an occupational therapist, to be able to assess your toilet, to make it higher, and to look at your bathtub. And very often they will have a home evaluation checklist. But we've got a home assessment checklist, home safety checklist.
Okay, we're gonna find that and send it out with the resources along with this.
That's it.
There is a wait time, like Jennifer said, especially if it's not an emergency. So it's something you want to think about sooner rather than later. And there are private occupational therapists that can do it as well if you have the financial means in order to do that and you want to get it done quicker.
They really focus on fall prevention because, again, I think everybody knows it's not a new statistic. Fractured hips is really, and depending on where you live, if you do fracture a hip and and you have many stairs to go up and you can't afford a stair lift and all these kinds of things, we have to prevent more than cure. So please, guys, if you can do anything, is build your bone strength, prevent falls, and really work on your balance. Tai Chi, chair yoga.
Yeah, there you go. And I think they show that most falls happen in the home too,
That's
right?
right.
So that's probably why they're focusing so much on that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, if you'll let me, Eric, I just want to summarize this thing in a nutshell, guys.
Yeah.
Okay? Basically, what I'm seeing through research, and it's really interesting research, it's exciting research. There's a huge thrust towards really meaningfully keeping seniors, keeping us in our homes as long as possible. I have been able to see intensive care going into the homes, ambulance drivers in different areas of Canada and in Montreal, not just the rest of English-speaking Canada. Montreal, there is a CLSC that actually offers intensive care in the home, allowing you get a cellulitis, you get an acute pneumonia. You don't have to go and get your IVs in hospital. No. If you're eligible and you're sick enough, the ambulance attendants or paramedics will assess you. There's tremendous work being done to keep us in our homes, but preparation is key.
Yeah.
If you snooze, you lose. So please use this guide as a checklist. It's dated, but it's very au courant. It's extremely apropos for today's aging. I found it very useful. Say, ooh, better think about that. And if there's something that you can push the wellness centers for, is say, how can we get access to some sort of coffee shop, or maybe a little collective transportation to go and see life, a library, a coffee shop, a shopping center, and make it a monthly thing if it doesn't already exist. We need to see life. We need to see what youth is doing today to be able to stay current and to be aware. So social connections are taking more and more place in the importance of aging well in our own home. But thanks so much, Erica, for the opportunity to research for this. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and thank you so much for all the research that you did to share this information with everyone. I think just thank you to the Senior Wellness Center staff as well for all the great resources and activities that you're providing for the seniors in your regions. And make sure you connect with your with your local wellness center. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, indeed.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.